This video is meant to explain the new gradebook in Canvas, new as of December 2019. And I'm going to take you into a fake course here and show you how to turn the gradebook on, which is only really going to be true until probably December 18, 2019. After December 18, you won't be able to switch the gradebook on or off. So it's under the Settings button, instead of the Course Details, which is what normally loads, you'll switch the tab at the top to Feature Options, and then there's a line here for a new gradebook. Now, because I've already switched it on and started doing some of the policy settings, I can't switch it off anymore. And in fact, as I said, after December 18th, this button won't be here because everyone will be using the new gradebook anyway. So I'll take you into the gradebook, and you can see at an overall glance some of the things that are different. First, you're seeing some colors, and you're seeing some things that might not look like functionality we're familiar with before, like percentages mixed in with points, the word excused, and so on. So we'll explore some of these one at a time. First, let me show you this gear icon to show you at a top level here one of the main things that has changed in the new gradebook, and that is you can set policies for things that happen automatically. So the late policies up at the top shows first the missing submissions, and when something is missing by the due date, it will automatically grade it at a 0% or 0 points if you set it to this. Confusingly, when you first come in here, it's probably going to say 100%, which is a weird default because if the student is missing it, they're getting a perfect score. Hopefully Canvas will change that. I changed it to 0 and then click Update. Below this, you have late submissions, and so you could set a number, a deduction, 5%, let's say, per day, and then there's no limit to that. Like, it just keeps dropping 5% until it gets down to 0. So these are what the colors are automatically going to come from. Now, before I click the Update button, there's also a tab up here for grade posting policy, which has to do with hiding grades. So basically, you can set it so that as soon as you input the grades, students can see them, and you'd have to. This is the default that I prefer, so that if I want to hide the grades, I manually hide a column, one column at a time. Otherwise, the whole gradebook is visible to them. You would then click the Update button if something has changed. I have to get rid of this, actually. Let me see if I can actually green out the Update button. Yeah, it would be green for you. It's just not green because I'm not actually changing anything today. So the policies then show up as these colors. And so if I go to an assignment, which is where you set the due dates for an assignment, and have something come due, then it will turn into these zeros automatically if it's a missing assignment. Otherwise, it will apply the late policy to whatever scores you typed. Now you see some things in here about the notes field, which is something that can be turned on. These items up here. Let me actually go into them, these items one at a time. Under Gradebook, you could switch between regular Gradebook, Gradebook History, and Individual View. I don't find Individual View that compelling unless you need to dive deeply into one particular student. One interesting thing, if you do switch to the Individual View, and scroll down about individual student stuff, leaving that page Grades, like going to the Home button and coming back to the Grades button, will actually leave you stuck on the Individual View. You have to come over here and switch it back to regular Gradebook if you ever make that switch. That's all that there was under this pull down. Under the Actions pull down, it's import and export items into the Gradebook. Got it. And then under the View are several things that we want to talk about. So the Notes column, to mark that off, was that one here in the middle. And these notes are things that you write about the student globally, and the student cannot see them. It's not about one particular assignment. You still have the ability to write individual assignment notes somewhere else. I'll show you in a moment. Now, you can arrange items by their default order, or you can arrange your gradebook to show the assignment name, alphabetical or reverse, the due date, newest or oldest, and then the points, highest or lowest, which tries to make it easier for you to find what it is you're looking for. Or you could turn on filters by assignment groups. Now, this is already tick marked on. To mark it off, and it took something away over here. Let's put it back on now. Filters, assignment groups, and then I can select only to show my quizzes right now. It will temporarily hide everything else on the gradebook, unless I say all assignment groups. So it's another way to make it easy for you to find what it is you're looking for. And then statuses refers to these new. It's a new feature of the gradebook to have an individual grade cell be under a status. So it's red because it's late, or it's light red because it was missing. And actually, you can click this and change it around to a different color. Let me take the dropped, excused one, let's say, and then switch to a different color here, like the yellow, and click Apply. I don't see that it does anything, actually. Let me just make this one red like the other one. Whoops, I clicked something here. 1, 2, 3. There was a yellow right there. And click Done, and so now my excused is a yellow color. Okay, so let's also talk about once you have students in the gradebook, there is this little 3 buttons here that let you pull down and show current and inactive, show things like the net ID or the U number, and then you can sort them alphabetical reverse, and this one's new, display as. So the traditional way Canvas Gradebook has done was like this, where first name comes first, but it is alphabetically sorted by last name. So it actually makes a little bit more sense, I think, to switch to last name sorting so that you can find the student you're looking for at a quick glance. Now every graded column also has these pull-down buttons and some familiar functionality you've seen before, like how to message students who and set default grades and those sorts of things, hiding the column. One of the items that is new, and I mentioned it at the beginning, is that you can switch to say enter them as percentages instead of points. So here you have a spot where this was done. So the test student had 80% entered for an essay, and the essay was worth 30 points. So if we go look from the student side, the test student would see that they earned a 24 out of 30. The student doesn't see 80%. It's just an ability for you to enter it that way instead of using only points. And then sort by can be grades highest or lowest first, or the missing ones. So if you've got a very large class and you have some missing grades, you can have those show up first, or anything that's late. Okay, now let's click into editing a number directly. So as before, you can simply type a number in here, and then this arrow is new. This is called the grade detail tray, and it opens something up on the side where it lets you change the status from missing to excused. And then if I click out of that, actually I don't even need to click out of it, it's already turned yellow and turned into excused. Now this is also where you can leave comments. Those will be specific to that column, and these comments are visible to the student, unlike these notes over here, which are just instructors' notes to themselves. This is also, by the way, the only place you can get at the speed grader now, is you'd have to go into the grade detail tray and then go into the speed grader. Nothing has changed in the speed grader, so I'm not going to show you that part. But while we have this tray open, we could switch to a previous assessment or a different assessment with this same student. It's like a miniature speed grader itself, actually. I can just cycle over to a new assignment, or I could cycle through students with this one assignment and enter new grades, and then cycle through students to the next assignment. So it's like a miniature speed grader right there on the screen as well, but the regular speed grader still remains also. And then this button is about keyboard shortcuts, which lets you open things like the grade detail tray by typing certain things. So I believe that to be the complete list of things that has changed. If you would like to see a larger list, type into your browser this URL. I'm not going to type it in the URL search field, but bit.ly/canvas new gradebook. And then enter that, and you'll be taken to a web page that will sort of summarize how all of the changes are different.